You're listening to the Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals, episode 13. This is where we love to talk about tips, tricks and inspirations for anyone hosting guests in unique structures. We tackle the A to Z of turning your passion into profits because building a successful business takes time and effort. So I share proven strategies to help you get there faster. Today I'm talking to the co-founder of Glamping Hub about what's going on in the industry and the 3 things that customers are looking for in their next vacation. So let's get started. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. Hello, and what a pleasure it is for me to have you here today. I'm so pleased you've joined me. There's no doubt that this industry is changing, but you don't need to take my word for that. In fact, I have a very special guest today who knows all about it. There is an endless variety of luxury camping sites springing up all over the world. It offers something that appeals to any kind of traveller, and this is why they're proving to be so popular. People are more environmentally focused than they've ever been, so embarking on an eco-friendly trip is now really important, and this is starting to show in buyer behaviour. From solar power and solar energy to composting toilets to environmental thinking around how a business is impacting its local area. Now more than ever, people have a choice about how they can reduce their carbon footprint while they're on vacation. It's now more possible than it's ever been. But for the customer, it's also about the experience. And in my opinion, this is one of the most important aspects, being close to nature. It gives us an opportunity to unplug from our hectic daily lives and recharge, ready to get back into it, ready to get back to the daily grind. Being in nature is a significant part of that experience. Recent research, in fact, has shown us that experiencing nature and being in a natural environment with greenery and leaves and trees can actually reduce stress levels on our bodies, improve blood pressure, and help us feel happier. In fact, it's really quite significant what the research has shown. But added to that are the activities we take part in while we're there. So surfing, hiking, mountain biking, hanging out with our family, playing games, being active. These are all things that help us relax, get stronger and get healthier. So the experience of camping in luxury can bring so much more than just a vacation. Although that's obviously important enough on its own. But what about the industry? Well, I've already reported about how the industry has moved on from just being a trend into a significant business model that people are now having a lot of success with. But what do others have to say? That's why I asked Ruben Martinez to join me to talk about it. Ruben is the co-founder of Glamping Hub, a booking portal for incredible accommodation all over the world. They have offices in Europe, Seville, Spain, and USA, Denver, Colorado, and list more than 35,000 unique outdoor accommodations. They were one of the first businesses I interviewed for my own inspiration publication when I started at about the same time. In this interview, Ruben talks about the 3 key things customers are looking for in their high-end vacations. He also talks about how, although this is a young industry, it has had significant investment in recent months. So a couple of examples of that are where Sarah Dusek from Under Canvas has recently achieved significant funding. Peter Mack from Collective Retreats has managed to get permission to set up a retreat on the Governor's Island in New York. AutoCamp has just recently received 115 million investment for their business. And Canvas Holidays in Europe have been absorbed and taken into and supported by the Facilians Group. This is all very big news for anyone involved in the industry. But today, Ruben also talks about how businesses within it are showing strong innovation and are doing some really cool things. And how this is really appealing to millennials who are basically the spending power of the future of holidays and vacations. They have been shown to have the most disposable income that they are prepared to spend on travel at the moment. So they are part of the audience that as a business you need to be attracting. So how does this impact new business owners and those wanting to explore this industry in the future? Let's head on over to the interview and find out. So Ruben, thank you so much for joining me today. It's wonderful for you to give us some time to share with us your expertise. So would you mind telling the listeners who you are and a bit of history about Glamping Hub?
Sure. No, and thanks again for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. It's always great to talk with you and looking forward to our conversation. My name is Ruben Martinez. I'm a co-founder of the booking platform GlampingHub.com. We started back in 2012, essentially with a simple mission of identifying these beautiful and unique outdoor accommodations and glamping accommodations all over the world and gathering them into one booking portal and really specifically for the start was the American market. So still 75% of what we do is within the United States, but we started off as a listing service, so people had to come to our website and pay us money to list, and we figured out pretty quickly that just wasn't a sustainable model. So soon after that, we went to a transactional model, and at the end of the day, what we do is we connect hosts and guests, and we find that there's just a numerous amount of these beautiful, unique accommodations all over the world, and so we have the distinct and great job of being able to bring these stays and vacations to life for the guest who's looking for just something a bit different within the glamping world. So we have an office here in Denver, an office in the southern part of Spain, and we're very excited for what 2019 has in store for us.
Well, the great thing is that you talk about unique accommodation and not just glamping accommodation. And that's something that I like to talk about too, because not everybody identifies with the word glamping. And I know in America, you also have a slight issue with people not really getting to grips with what glamping and that term actually means. Can you talk around that a little bit more?
Sure. And I think it's something that's just happened naturally by using unique and glamping kind of all within the same breath. And that's really because within the American market, glamping still as of today, I mean, it's growing and a lot of people know about it and a lot of people have gone, but it's not as typical and usual as it is in the UK or other parts of Europe, Australia, even in Canada. It's just not as a common term. And because it's not as common, it can cause some people some anxiety. They hear the term glamping, they might think, well, I can't afford that because it's probably going to be $3,000 a night. They've got a private chef and a butler and all sorts of things. And for the American consumer, not all of them, but a portion of them, they think glamping is synonymous with luxury and high-end expensive, which obviously there are all over the world, these beautiful high-end camps, but there's something for everybody. And so that's why the term unique has, I think, just naturally taken off. Over the years, we've realized that our guests are really looking for three main things when they're looking for their glamping accommodation. One is that direct access to Mother Nature. As we know, the United States just has this beautiful landscape, and from one coast to the other, it's completely different. One state to another offers different natural landscapes, and so being able to provide those unique accommodations and direct access to Mother Nature is big. A unique structure is something that they're looking for as well, and then a certain level of comfort. Americans are very comfortable with traditional camping, and it's something that I still do as well. I love going traditional camping, but with two small kids, it's obviously a bit more challenging. And so what we've been able to do over the years is just shift the conversation so that people can see these unique structures like safari tents and yurts and teepees and airstreams and all sorts of types of accommodations, and allow them to be comfortable with that idea. And it's a great stepping stone for them into the glamping world.
And so it's very interesting for us in Europe to hear about exactly what's going on in other parts of the world, and particularly in the USA, because it's so huge, around new trends that are starting to emerge in this industry. Is there anything that you've noticed recently that's got your attention that you think is worth sharing to everyone listening today?
Yeah, I guess there's a few things. One is the glamping industry hasn't been around here forever. It's definitely younger than other markets. But what has been palpable over the last few months, I guess there's a few things, but one is that there's been examples of some pretty major investment in in a few glamping properties and businesses. So maybe 5 years ago, it was harder to find the money for somebody who was interested in either starting an operation or expanding their operation. But as of recently, there's been not only, I think it's easier for people to track down investment because people can on the investment side can understand a little bit more that this is not a fad. It's not going away. The returns are great for them. It just makes sense for them now, where from an investment standpoint, it didn't make sense maybe 5 years ago, and people are writing some pretty big checks. And so that's one thing. The second is, and this has been true, I guess, the last 2 years or so, but because each state and each community within the United States is completely different from the other, different, everything from landscape to accents to, just rules and regulations. It has really opened the door for just some pretty unique and cool, not only accommodations, but experiences. The American innovational spirit, I think, lives very strong within the glamping community here, and unique outdoor accommodations. And there hasn't been any shortage of, these business owners and property owners just doing some really cool stuff. They take the property, they make it their own, they do something completely different from somebody else. And the experience side of it is huge. You look at our target market and our demographic right now, is a good portion is millennials. So we do really well with the 24 to 38 age group. But some stats came out recently that said that the millennial generation is going to be the generation that spends the most amount of money on travel over the next year and a half. So, if you let that sink in, I think everybody might have thought from an American standpoint, maybe the baby boomers would be spending more money on travel, but it's actually the millennials with their purchase power. The millennials are more into experience-based travel. That is the most important part of travel to them, is a unique, a different and experience-based of travel. And I think property owners and business owners are listening to that and providing that to the millennials. And I don't think that purchasing power is going to be going away, and therefore the hosts are not going to be, starting some experience-based activities on their site and then, letting them go, because the other number from the millennial generation is that they will save more for travel versus saving to pay off student debt or saving to buy a house. So travel is a number one priority, and experience-based travel is a number one priority for the millennial generation. And I think that's being reflected in how business owners are setting up their glamping accommodations.
So is this something that you're seeing across the board with hospitality, or is it particularly this industry because it's so strong with the experience side of what it offers? Do you think that's why it's coming into glamping so much, or is it across the board?
I think it's both. I think it is across the board, but glamping allows for experience-based travel, an easy entry into experience-based travel. I think a lot of businesses or big hotel chains or other big travel companies have figured out how to capture the 45-year-old to the 68-year-olds. They do really well figuring out how to make them repeat customers, to bring them back, to kind of take them through the funnel. But a lot of them haven't quite figured out how to capture the millennial generation. And I think they look at glamping as an easy way to kind of get their feet wet there. But I've seen it across the board with travel in general for that specific reason, is that a lot of companies and organizations and hotel chains see the big purchasing power of millennials and are trying to figure out a way to get them early into their funnel. And I do think that they see glamping as a way to access a younger generation that they just didn't have access to prior.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing, actually, from my time in the industry, seeing how it's really expanded over those years. And I suppose in a way, and this is something that you're looking into now, is how can the industry be kept to a certain quality, a certain level with, some kind of association. I believe this is what you're now working on, the Glamping Association in America. Is that right? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. So Sarah Dusick and I started the American Glamping Association in 2018 at the tail end in November. The idea came just from conversations that Sarah and I have had over the months and years about what can be done to raise the level of the glamping industry, specifically within the United States, and what standards, what guidance, what tools and resources can we provide to help out the business owner who's not only been doing this for 15 years, but somebody who's now thinking about starting up in a glamping accommodation next year, and everybody in between. So we talked about it for a while, and then at the Global Glamping Summit, we announced it in California in November and got it up and running. And the idea is pretty simple. From my conversations throughout the weeks and throughout the months, I feel like part of my job is just connecting people with other people within the industry. And a lot of times within the glamping industry here in the States, people do feel a little secluded. They don't know where to go for certain answers. They don't know who to talk to, somebody who's been there, even access, even if they can identify that person, they don't have access to that individual. And this is something that is important for that new and existing business owner, because the information is somewhat scattered here in the States, and the experts just may not be accessible. So the idea was pretty straightforward and simple. We said, what can we do, and how can we provide an easy access tools and resources for glamping hosts across the board, and how can we do so in a consistent way that makes sense? And so that's what we've done, and we're excited for how things have started and how things will shape up for the rest of the year. We will get going in quarter to our accreditation process. So glamping accommodations will have, and business owners will have, an opportunity to be accredited through the American Glamping Association. And what that does is, I think it's pretty straightforward. Sarah and I, our passion lies on being able to move the glamping industry as a whole forward. And something that we agreed on from day one was, if somebody goes to a glamping site and has a bad experience because of whatever reason, because they thought that they were going to get more, or they thought that it was a 5-star versus a 2-star, or the price didn't match up, or the expectations weren't in line, whatever it might be, they not only don't go back to that accommodation, but most likely they don't go glamping ever again. And that's something that we agreed on from day one, is how do we make sure that the expectations are in line for anybody and everybody who goes glamping, and what can we do to help? And there are, a lot of complications when it comes to zoning and permitting, and every state, county has different rules and regulations and items with the ADA and different legislation. It can be tough and scary and daunting for an owner. And so we have set up our association to be that guide and that tool and resource for the American glamping community.
And so if somebody wants to pursue this a little bit more, if they want to find out more about the Glamping Association, if they want to get involved, or just really to see how it might be able to help them, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, all you need to do is go to the AmericanGlampingAssociation.net, or you can Google American Glamping Association. It should pop up for you. There's some information there on the website. You can also just put in your name and your email, and somebody from our staff will go ahead and give you a call and walk you through the ins and outs and what somebody gets with the membership. But there's also some information there on the website. And what's nice, we will start the webinar series this month, so that allows members only to get direct access to those individuals who have been there and done that within the glamping world, which is great. We'll start rolling out some more features here at the end of February, but all the information is on AmericanGlampingAssociation.net. And if anybody's interested, go ahead and just visit there, and we'll go from there.
You've got 2 offices, one in America and one in Spain. So an awful lot on your plate at the moment. But what is next for Glamping Hub? What are you doing in general? And can you see there's any challenges coming up or some exciting developments? Is there anything that we would like to hear about?
Yeah, I mean, for us, what was exciting is in this last year, we went from about 8,000 accommodations to 35,000 accommodations. And so what's clear from a booking platform standpoint is that there's no shortage of these beautiful accommodations all over the world. So our goal for 2019 is really to take a step back and make sure that we're focused on the right markets for us. Australia and New Zealand does really well for our guests. They understand the glamping world. They understand the glamping term. They're just a great market to work with. And so we'll continue to pursue growth there, pursue growth across Europe, and then also within Latin America is a huge opportunity for us as well, which we'll pursue growth. But from a glamping hub or a glamping standpoint, the nice part is that our main mission is to provide a once in a lifetime vacation every time somebody wants to go on vacation, right? Whether it's just for a weekend, whether it's just for an anniversary trip or whatever it might be. And so the more that we can be providing the right types of accommodations and the right type of experience, it'll be great for everybody. We're rolling out a new dashboard for our hosts, which will go live soon. Just a bunch of little things, but we're excited about 2019, and a lot of it comes from market growth and within specific markets outside of the United States.
So if you were sitting now in front of somebody who is considering getting involved in this industry in terms of offering a service or setting up some kind of offer, what would you say to them about the industry as a whole and whether it's something good for them to get involved in?
Yeah, I mean, the good news right now, and this might be different from other markets, but within the United States, it's not oversaturated. There's still a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of unique things that people, still haven't done yet. And that's a fun part about keeping our eyes and our finger on the pulse through the Global Glamping Summit, through the American Glamping Association, and through Glamping Hub, is that we're able to see people do some really cool things. And so we feel like it's not oversaturated, that there's still a lot of opportunity. And so I would say, first and foremost, do it. Now is still a great time to jump in and start a business and create that. The only other thing that I would say is try and make it real as quickly as possible. We do talk to business owners from time to time, and this can be a very personal thing for them. Maybe they opened up a treehouse down in Costa Rica and this was their retirement plan, or maybe they wanted to open up some safari tents outside of Moab and they've been working on the business plan for 5 or 10 years. And when we talk to individuals like that, my main advice is do something kind of every day and every week and every month as consistently as possible to continue to make it real. Don't sit back and say, well, it's not ready yet, or I don't have my game plan, or I don't have everything quite figured out, because from what I can tell within glamping within the United States, it's always a work in progress. There's always going to be something that's not perfect. There's always going to be new opportunities, and I think it's far better to kind of jump in and smartly and intelligently, and make sure you do have a business plan and make sure that you do have everything sorted out. But try not to wait too long, and try and make it as real as possible, as quickly as possible, and that allows people to create momentum and move forward.
Yeah, it's those steps, isn't it? The consistent, persistent action, and realizing that perfection is the way to procrastination, and that is not the way to go. And it's an experiment, isn't it, really, that people should set up and see how it goes. And you can always tweak it, you can always adjust it as you move forward, but at least it's there, at least it's something tangible that's going to mean that you're in the industry, you're in the market, and you're starting to make an impact. And I think that's really wise words, Ruben, and thank you so much. And I'll definitely be including all the links that you've mentioned in the show notes, which will be over on inspiredcamping.com/013, as this is episode 13. And thank you so much for your time today. I'm really very grateful.
Sarah, it's always great to catch up. Thanks again for your time, and looking forward to catching up again soon.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you at the next Glamping Summit.
Deal.
All right. Take care then, Ruben. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You may have missed it, but Ruben gave us some really key inside the industry tips there. If you did miss it, I absolutely recommend you go back over that interview and you listen to what he's saying. It's vital what he's talking about, particularly at the end when he's talking about consistent, persistent action. It's really important that we get our businesses up and working and in progress. Perfection can be our enemy. It removes our ability to make progress, and things can always be tweaked as we move forward. So actually, it doesn't need to be perfect at first. We can test it, we can test our market, we can test how our offer is reacting within the industry, and that is how we move forward with our business dreams. So if you found this useful, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. If you haven't got a business already in this industry, you might want to take part in my quiz to see if you're cut out to run a glamping business. If you're interested in taking the quiz, go on over to inspiredcourses.com/quiz. I'm also offering a whole heap of free resources which I've designed to help you get your glamping business up and running, and also finding guests and improving your occupancy levels. So if you want to get your hands on those resources, just go to the page inspiredcourses.com/resources. And for the show notes for this episode and all other episodes, you can go to inspiredcamping/podcast. And for this particular episode, just replace podcast with 013, as this is episode 13. See you soon.